take joy in the work. I couldn't wait to get here today to share my story one more time. I'm already pondering the testimonials that may come out of a class like this next year, a year from now, 5 years from now, if I happen to meet some of you and you say, on that summer weekend in Anaheim, I finally got it. The lights went on for me. Something you said and something someone else said finally made sense. And I hooked it together, and here's what's happened. That's going to be extraordinary, right? That's why we're here, to do this work. I was excited this morning about being here. Couldn't wait to hear what I've got to say. A lady asked me one time, she said, Mr. Rohn, over the last few years I've been to your seminars now several times. Every time I see you, you're all excited. Things seem to be going great for you. How do you stay so excited all the time? And I said, I think it's because I attend all these seminars. Because make this note now, because it's very valuable. If you struggle to make something clear for someone else, it helps to make it more clear for you. If one person listens and one person speaks, there is the opportunity for transformation for both. The listener to be enlightened, to see something he never saw before, but the speaker to be better educated on how to present it by struggling with the language. Words are clumsy sometimes when you try to express what's going on in your head, let alone your heart and spirit. But the more you struggle to make it clear, the clearer it gets for you, so that both the listener could be transformed by what he hears, and the speaker could be transformed by the exercise of speaking, trying to make it clear. We're going to talk later about communication. It's almost a godlike quality, communicating, inspiring other people with your language. Now here's the last part, and I'm finished, and we're going to take then about a 10, 12-minute break, maybe 11 minutes. Here's the last one. Are you ready? Say, I'm ready. For the last one, develop the ability to share. Not just your money and your resources. One of the biggest things to share, of course, is your time, because you're limited on time. You can't get any more time. Big decision for me to make, to come spend this weekend with you instead of with my children and my grandchildren. Right? I'm already wealthy. I don't need the money. So why would I come? Because my children and my grandchildren know this is part of our collective experience. They enjoy the testimonials that come later as much as I do, the letters I get and the phone calls. And the response that people say, hey, your grandfather came and made an extraordinary contribution. See my children and my grandchildren thrive on that story. So they were willing for me, instead of being in Carmel, sitting on the sand at the ocean where my grandchildren live, I'm here in Anaheim, California, spending this time with you. But I gladly do it. Here's why. It's an investment time for me to share, so that later comes the harvest. One, the harvest is by working hard to make it clear for you, I'm getting as much as you are. But then later, hearing the testimonials. So I'm asking you to do the same in every format possible. Whether you're asked to do training, whether you're asked to do teaching, whether you're asked to make a speech, always say yes to the best of your ability, so that you'll have one more time to share, one more time to help somebody lift themselves from poverty to success, from doubt to faith, from illness to health, from skepticism to belief. One more chance, person to person, or class to class, or a little Sunday morning class, or a little home meeting, or a personal conversation at Denny's coffee shop. Tell somebody something good, something valuable. The payoff for you is in the attempt and the learning experience. And then the payoff later is to get someone's testimonial that's got your name included.
I think one of the first things is to always be prepared for a surprise, and the surprise is likely to be a negative surprise every day. Something's going to happen in your day, whether you're going to be late behind a train, your car's going to have a flat tire, something's going to happen to you, and the ability to be able to take molehills and continue to make them molehills instead of mountains, to look at problems as being normal. Problems are a normal part of change, so because we're changing so rapidly, there are going to be a lot of problems you face. And to look at failure as an event. That's the important thing. Failure is not a person. I'm not a failure. I've had a failure, I've had a temporary inconvenience, I've had a stumbling block. And the idea is to turn a stumbling block into a stepping stone and step on it rather than stumble over it. So I always say, look at failure as the fertilizer of success.
Wow.
Fertilizer stinks. It smells, you know, I mean, you put it on your grass and say, wow, that guy's just fertilized his lawn. Sure, you fertilize your life with your mistakes. You don't wallow in them, you don't lay in them, you don't roll in them. You pick yourself up off your mistake and you learn from it and try not to repeat that same thing again. But you look at it as a temporary inconvenience. It's a detour. It's a detour in life is a failure.
So are these the same principles that the athletes, the Olympic athletes use when they, or maybe they're in practice or so forth, and they do a routine and it doesn't work out the way they really felt it should have worked out, or they're actually in the Olympic Games and they don't win that gold medal? Typically they don't just give up and say, oh, forget it. You know, typically they come back 4 years later and they go at it again, and they're doing years and years of practice just to get back to that point. So are you saying it's the same type of mindset that it takes to be a champion in athletics that it takes to be a champion in business? Absolutely.
There's two times when you use it, before you perform and right after. So it's called simulation and then replay. Wow. And the replay after a failure is as important as the replay after a success. So the idea is when you miss, you say, that's not like me, I'm better than that. That's not like me, come on, get with it. So you teach an athlete to slap his thigh and say, come on, that's not like you, let's get with it. Let's get going now. Come on, let's get back on it. Let's get back on the ball. And so I'm learning myself in my life. I say, come on, Dennis, that's not like you. You're a lot better than this. You're better than this, so let's get back to where we belong here. Let's remember what we've learned. Let's slow down, take a deep breath, focus, relax, concentrate, and follow through. Next time, we'll get it right. The important thing is to look at a failure as an event, a single performance that you must take and make lead back to the original goal. The problem is most people say, oh man, I blew it, oh gee, and they rest on that and they reinforce that mistake instead of taking it and correcting it to the target. So it's really important to do target correction.
So basically what you're saying is that it's just all these are mental strategies, mental tools that we can use as kind of like reforming our self-talk. Instead of saying the negative, disempowering type things, say the positive and empowering type of things. And so in order for a person to get to a point where they're used to doing that, because initially it seems like they have to consciously think about, you know, making sure that they say an empowering word or empowering phrase. So to get to that point, does it require, you know, your regular reading books, going to seminars like the Jim Rohn leadership event we're at right now, listening to tapes and so forth? Does it require those type of things to even get to that point? Or can anyone who hasn't even done a lot of personal development just say, hey, I'm going to choose to have really good self-talk?
Well, it's pretty hard to go cold turkey on anything, mainly because you don't really stop a habit, you replace a habit. And if it's habitual, a habitual way of talking or feeling or explaining, I call it the positive explanatory style versus the negative explanatory style. So I like
to explain the explanatory styles.
Yeah. Well, I like to interview people, and I ask them how it's going. And I ask them, you know, what kind of day is it for you? And if the weather enters into the picture, then I know that it's not mental, because the weather is an external factor. So if the externals in life are the things that determine whether you have a good day or not, you're being, if you will, you're a thermometer. A thermometer is a passive device that lays there and tell you how the world is doing on the outside. A thermostat is what you set on the temperature that you want, then it controls the air conditioning and the heating. If you look at your body and brain as the hardware in your computer, and you look at the software as the things you put in your mind, you have a software program that drives the hardware. So the software is what you need to program with the instructions to have the computer follow directions. And so you tell the computer what you want it to do, and the software program determines the outcome of what the computer does. Most people don't know how to program their software to get the outcomes they want.